as a podcast that does everything it can to cover rice cakes, Matt, we've got some feedback on last week's discussion where I think we can mostly say Cote was the only one in favor of rice cakes. But listener and friend of the show, Chris Tipper, writes in that he has found Marmite rice cakes that are made in Belgium. Okay.
Whoa.
So, and he went on to say this was the only reason to eat rice cakes. Of course, I was like, you don't have to use the rice cakes. You never have to eat the rice cake. You can always just eat the spread if you want on there. Go ahead.
I have questions. Wait a second. Marmite is a British thing. Wouldn't Brexit have like stomped this out? Like nobody wants to buy those things anymore.
I've included the link in the show notes here because I don't really. I'm confused why Belgium has anything to do with rice cakes. Because like, of course, when you think of Belgium, you think of food. I mean, waffles, of course, right?
Sure,
Like
yeah.
you would, like Marmite
Rice
on
cakes are
waffles.
just like the absolute worst version of a waffle, I guess.
All right. Well, but the part that made me think of you specifically was the Marmite, right? Because now in Australia, I wanted to ask, is it still the Vegemite that is very popular?
Yeah. Vegemite is like the Australian version of Marmite. As far as I know, and I'll probably get corrected on this, they're like almost the same thing.
All right.
They're
Well, I
like
was going to
the
go on to
yeast
say,
stuff, the brewers out from making beer. Yeah.
I can't confirm I've had Marmite. I mean, I guess probably just by sheer, the odds are in life I've probably tasted it and not know what it is. But I have specifically had Vegemite, as that was given to me by someone from New Zealand, funny enough. So, there it is. And I thought it was disgusting. So I would think Vegemite on top of rice cakes, absolutely awful on top of awful. So I wanted to see, now you've been in Australia for a while and you've maybe acclimated to the dining habits of Australians. Like, where do you stand on, we'll just limit it to Vegemite. I don't know if you have a Marmite take.
Sure. No Marmite takes here. I land on it's an acquired taste. It's something that not for everybody, but the trick, and this happens to like pretty much every American who eats it, is you put it on really thin because it's meant to be like an accent flavor, it's not like jam where you put it on bread and like now you have bread with jam. This is like bread with just a hint of umami, because that's what it is. It's like pure umami flavor, and usually here they eat it with butter, right? So it's like a savory, mouth blast kind of thing. So I've come around to it. I'm not gonna, there's a few times there's like a Vegemite cheese scroll thing that's pretty good, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to eat it. But I'm not gonna gag on it anymore.
Well, to that end, I guess, what is the equivalent American snack? Would it be, the best I could say is it like peanut butter and jelly on toast, or peanut butter spread
without
on toast?
The jelly?
Would you
without
say
the jelly for sure, and without the sugar that is like loaded up in peanut butter? And peanuts are, I don't know. I mean, I guess I grew up on peanut butter. I find it pretty inoffensive. So,
but I'm just trying to. I just want to like. I just want to say, like, is it equivalent? So, because like, if we gave maybe an Australian who had peanut butter would be like, this is disgusting. It's way too sweet.
Yeah, they don't eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They're like,
is there? I was gonna say, is there peanut butter in the country of Australia?
There's peanut butter, but it's just kind of like.
Like, do you have to go to the American section, or do they have like a regular section of peanut butter?
They have it. It's not like full on the way it is in the States. I mean, like, I think when I was a kid, I was eating, PB&J like 5 days a week.
Amen. I mean, that's Gen X grew up on that. I mean, that's like one of the 4 food groups, right? That's how we all. That's why we're all still alive today. Yeah. So
that's still my go-to, but it's less popular here. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
All right. Well, a couple key takeaways here before we move on. It's one, I'm going to still say Vegemite still bad. I haven't had it in a while, but I'm going to still say it's there.
Well, but what's funny is like it's used in a lot of cooking lately, like as chefs are expanding their palettes and adding ingredients. It's like I've seen it show up on like cooking shows where they'll just take a scoop of it and toss it into a dish, and it's just to give that like mouthfeel, that heavy umami. Like you don't really know it's there. It's kind of like miso getting added to things. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that's in there. But it's not for everyone, but you're probably eating it.
That's probably true. Well, a sign of a great food or spice is always when someone says like, well, you won't even know what's in there. That's always the sign of like how great it is. So I was gonna say Vegemite's still bad. I don't know about this Marmite rice cakes. I'm putting the link in here. It says it's from Belgium, but I've never been to Belgium. I'm just gonna go on a limb, right? You go to Belgium, skip the rice cakes and Marmite. Have the Belgian muffins.
They're better things to eat in Belgium.
Like there seems like a million better things to eat there. So don't have Marmite rice
drink
cakes.
The beer.
So I Cote, he's not on this week. We had to give him a couple weeks off after the XML take and rice cakes. He's a little bit on probation. We'll see. We'll see what he does while he's out. We'll see if we can bring him back next week. But until then, I suggest everyone go find your own snacks. Go find good snacks. And there's got to be something better out there.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, a little bit close to something that we care about probably much more than everyone else, other than just Marmite, is the acquisition of Zenoss. We both worked there way back in the day. I mean,
probably 15, closing the loop.
15, I don't even know, 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been a long time. So
it's been a long time.
Vertana
years?
acquires Zenoss to deliver the industry's deepest and broadest observability platform. Finally. I don't know. I think, I think that's a bold statement, but
it's a bold statement, especially at the acquisition price.
Yeah. So I got to be totally honest. I hate to say this out loud. I had never heard of Vertana until this came across. Have you followed them? Did you know who they were?
No.
Okay,
no.
so neither did I.
This was not on my radar until like minutes before we went on the air, and you told me, and I was excited. I'm like, those options. I'm going to Fiji, man.
No, you're not. Well, you may go to Fiji, but you're paying for you're not going to use the space. So reports out of our the Wall Street Journal. No, actually not on the Wall Street Journal. Reports are on pretty good insight into. Like for once, I think we have pretty good insight into this one. Maybe we even have a little bit more data than the average person. Is that looks like it was acquired for $21 million, but the sad news is they had about $21 million in debt. So the net is the company was essentially acquired for its debts. The lender looks like the lender agreed to take a little less money on the debt, and off they go. The Zenoss, what do we call it? Intellectual property.
End of an era.
The employees, whoever's left.
Open source monitoring has come to a close.
The CEO of Zenoss, I think he will be departing with a small pay package, which again by CEO standards is not very big. So yes, they will be, if you will, it is. I think you said it right. End of an era. End of that. It will now ship off into Vertana, where I guess they will do their best to take on the observability gorillas out in the market and make their way into it. And so I think to ourselves, it's like, well, Matt, we could have worked at Datadog, we didn't. And Datadog today probably worth, I don't know, we'll have to do a real-time stock checkup, maybe like
a lot,
$30 to $40 billion. Zenoss worth $21 million. But I would say, like I was going to say on this, it's other than it maybe being a tax write-off for those that still have some Zenoss options. Like I would say, like it's probably more realistic. Like these are the acquisitions. This is more typical of how things end. Like I know you've had not quite one. I don't know. You've had a. Several,
I was about to say that this makes me 4 for 5 of my last companies have been acquired.
But they've been acquired impressive. Like for what we would both term small sums of money, right? At least relative
except for Wiz.
Well, that's true. You have like the home run of home runs.
Right. So we'll call this a hit by pitch.
This is like a walk. Like it just like it doesn't really go into stats. It's not even a walk.
It's a hit by pitch, right?
So I don't know. I was gonna say because but Chef not quite like this, but a little bit of money.
It was the base hit, right?
Base hit, and then
and because I was there early days. Let's say I stole second.
Okay, so you got a little bit there, and then KubeCost
got acquired by IBM. Yeah.
Okay, so again, what we call base hit, small base hit, right? So you got we got Grand Slam with Wiz, base hit, 2 base hits, and a hit by pitch. That's the Matt Ray. Although this is going to translate, no one that does
strikeout in there, but nobody bats 1,000.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe we look back on it. Like, is there if we were to go back in time? Was there ever a chance? Did Zenoss ever have a chance? Was it just maybe could we summarize it this way? It's like Zenoss went with the open source as sort of its, if you will, secret sauce, but that was sort of in between the wave of like traditional software and SaaS.
They were very open core. Yeah.
Right. Well, even putting aside we're not going to have an open source discussion this week. We got to take a break. I was going to say, putting that aside, I'm just going to say they were sort of sandwiched in retrospective, sandwiched between a pure, if you will, licensing on-premise model, and then the evolution and the rise of SaaS. So you can kind of say, pick whoever you think was the big monitoring winner, Tivoli or whatever before it, right? And then you got to think of Datadog being after. And there was like a window in there where like maybe open source was going to be the way. Maybe if we had done it differently, was it what was the other one? Groundworks. There was another one.
Yeah.
And several others were all out there doing it, but like none of this.
And you know what? Nagios just kept on chugging along.
Nagios still winning, winning today, baby.
They're. I'm not going to call them the Yankees, but what are they? They're the Milwaukee Brewers, right? You're like, that's a team, and like, you know what? They're still making that. They're still making payroll.
I was gonna say, like, I mean this in the most positive way. I was gonna call Nagios as like the cockroach of monitoring. Like, it's never going. You can't. It's never going away. It will always be with us. So I would like to know what. I mean, you can't really acquire it. It's hard, I guess, in some ways. Be interesting to know like, what the
people have gotten. Companies that do it.
But it's like
people involved in it. But yeah.
But it's the thing, though. Maybe that's why Nagios.
It's like MySQL, right?
It is. It's a thing.
You can't get it all.
No one really owns it, but everyone owns it. So it's like so. All right. Well, I would say congratulations to Zenoss, but that still seems inappropriate. Now, it'd be us trying to congratulate ourselves. So it's like, well, you win some, you lose some, and you get hit by a pitch. So it is what it is. Now, Databricks, on the other side of the acquisition thing, they have acquired Neon. And Neon is going to deliver serverless Postgres for developers. Which now, are you familiar with Neon? I was not super familiar with this.
I'd heard the name. I feel like I've seen them somewhere around town, but
all right. So this is the thing. Other than just sort of like Databricks being, really rapidly growing, Neon rapidly growing. This was the line that I took from the press release that really interested me, and it says the following quote. Recent internal telemetry showed that 80% of databases provisioned on Neon were created automatically by AI agents rather than by humans. So I was just like, I want to know more. Like, I don't really, like, I'm confused as to like what that means. Like, I guess that just means an agent has decided it needs to provision a database to do something. It's provisioning the database, putting a bunch of data in it, and then saving the database and like shutting it down for later usage. Like, is that the way you just read that sentence? Am I like missing anything in there?
That's absolutely, it's like, you're spinning workloads up and they got to stash their stuff somewhere. And when they're done, they toss it in a bucket and, maybe they need it later.
So, but have you actually seen, like, I guess I wanted to check myself, and thank you for telling me that. So I want to check myself, like, logically understood it. Like, have you seen any code that does this? Have you touched anything in your talking with customers, anything else where an agent, not an AI agent, not a human being. It's like where you would go. That's why this 80% number is like 80%. Like, of course, you can do a lot of weird things with numbers. One agent maybe doing it like 1 million times a day would obviously skew the numbers, right? So maybe that's what's going on. But I just haven't, like, it's not that I don't understand it conceptually. It's just like I don't hear about people doing this. So it's shocking to me. It would be 80%.
But if you think about the use case, right? This is meant to be like serverless Postgres. Mm-hmm. So I'm just picturing it up as like every time, almost like a Lambda function, only, it's an agent. Something spins up, it checks in with a database, gets a little, runs an action, runs a couple queries, writes it off, and it's gone. And so those could be considered, completely ephemeral, which, somewhere you've got, one workload sitting in production, it's just chugging along. And meanwhile, these agents are, spinning up thousands a day, possibly, millions a day, even, it depends on what it is. This is just serverless. I mean, of course you're going to have inflated numbers. If you think agent equals serverless, sure. Why not? Cause it's a true number, but it's kind of a hokey number.
All right. Well, maybe I'm parsing this too closely. When I read provision, I read that as meaning like they're creating a new database.
But that could just be like, there's a big database in the sky and you're adding, boom, give me a
Like you're
my
doing like a
own.
select and give me like half the table and
Well,
put it in a
no, like
database? Or
say,
like what?
create a new database for me in this, big shared database, and it's like it doesn't even have like a number or anything. It's just a GUID,
Uh-huh.
and oh, there's a GUID. It's got a schema. It's got 8 rows, and we're out, right?
Mhm.
It's
And then
like
the data,
that.
but
That's
that's
how
my
I'm
question. It's
picturing
like,
it.
is the database then being destroyed? Like, I'm like, what is
No,
go like?
you leave it around.
It just sits there.
Because someone probably later is coming through and doing like ETL on it and just grabbing all
Once
these databases and consolidating them into ClickHouse or something.
and behind the scenes, somebody's doing ad
Or
tracking on all of
actually,
this.
they're putting it into Databricks, right? They're putting it into
Okay,
a data
now you
lake,
got my
right?
attention. So
Yeah,
somehow it's
that's
getting
the
into
play here. This
Databricks.
is there. This is just like we used to use what's the we used to use SQLite, right? We used to use
Mhm.
SQLite, write it into a file system, we dump it in a bucket. Now it's like, no, we've got a hosted thing. We just, dump a table in there, and then later on somebody comes out and cleans it out. That's
Yeah,
how
well,
I see this.
I think you said the same thing. It's like I don't know. I just feel like, gosh, man, Postgres seems so heavyweight. Like it's SQLite,
Well,
even though
it's just
like
the APIs though. Everyone Postgres is like
yeah.
the lingua franca
What about
of
like
databases,
DuckDB? Like these lightweight, super fast.
Which speaks Postgres, right?
Okay.
That's the whole point. Like under the covers, Neon is probably wildly divergent from Postgres. But it's Apache licensed. Are they in CNCF or something?
Oh,
Um,
I don't. Oh,
I
now
don't
you're
know,
asking
but
hard
it's Apache
questions.
licensed.
Yeah.
It's so I assume that's probably where I've seen them is they probably had a booth at KubeCon, and this is just they were making the play to be the SQLite for serverless, and they've done it, and now Databricks is like, hey, you're a good way to feed data into our lake.
Okay. I guess you kind of sold me on. I guess I don't know. I just think of like, oh, I got to spin up a Postgres database. I'm just like, oh,
No,
that's gonna
no,
be too much time and
I doubt
effort. Although they
it's
say you can do it in seconds and in like
exactly
microseconds or whatever.
right.
So
Right,
maybe I'm
just
just
like you
like
would with
old school,
SQLite,
right?
right?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I just think of Postgres as being a lot more heavyweight than
No,
SQLite. And their whole pitch is it isn't. It just like magically it just starts up. It's all ready
it's
to go.
magic. I mean, it's
So
just like Aurora. I mean, that's what it is. It's meant to be Aurora, open source.
okay, fair enough. All right. Well, listen, I'll invite the listeners. If you are someone that has written an agent and you are creating lots of Postgres databases, you find us in the Slack or send us an email. I just want to know, like, what are you doing? Like, tell me more about it. Cause I'm still a little bit like, I see agents, a lot of databases. I don't know. I just, put some color on this. Like, tell me you're building some type of banking transaction. I'll probably be like, oh, that makes sense. That's good. So we'll see. Now, close to your home now. I guess we're gonna make this episode's just all about us. It's just stuff that we that we touch, right? This is us taking over our own podcast. So, I should say, not our friends, you here at WizOS, they have now announced securing Wiz from the ground up with hardened near zero CVE container based images. Okay,
That's exciting.
so first of all, let's just set the stage. I think we would say in the blog post here, they reference several other people that are doing it, but certainly Chain Guard, friend of the show, Justin works over there. You know him as well. That was the one that jumped to mind as well. I guess they also talk about Docker has a minimal image effort. Of course, Google has a distro. I mean, Google has everything. And then Red Hat has universal base images. So this is all part of, the same kind of universe, right? I am a developer. I want my images to not have any CVEs. And now I can get them for Wiz, or I will be able to when this is readily available. Am I characterizing this correctly?
Yeah, I mean that's the play is a secure by default minimal base image. That's I mean there's a lot of players in the game, and I think the Wiz play is like, well, if we tie it to the Wiz ecosystem, you now have we've got Wiz Cloud, which is sitting in the middle. We've got Wiz Code, which is targeted at developers. Well, what are the developers going to put stuff on? Let's give them a secure OS, and that way, there's fewer CVEs getting to the cloud.
All right. In this headline, and again, maybe this was too pedantic.
Pedantic.
Pedantic. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for knowing
that's
what I
my
say.
jam. Pedantic is my jam.
Okay, there is a 3-word, 2 hyphenated adjective, right? Modifier here. And I think because I've been reading about this a little
Are
bit.
you grammar checking our?
No, I'm not. It's proper grammar, but it's very precise, right? And the reason I want to ask is because I've been trying to read up on this container stuff, right, a little bit. And I think there are different opinions about like, should you really strive to have zero CVEs? So the thing is, it's like Nero-0-CVE. So where I'm going here is like, I just wanted your take on this. Is like, of course, I would say it this way. It's like at the simplest level, you're like, do you want security vulnerabilities or no? And most people would say like, of course I don't want any. So 0 is better than anything, better than 1, right? But I think there's like a, if you will, another faction out there that's like, hey, that's not really, it's almost like health or something. Like we shouldn't just look at one metric like weight. We got to take into consideration like your overall health, and that 0 CVEs for lots of reasons may not be, if you will, as secure as you think it is. So what is your take on this as a security professional?
So, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of Wiz, is to put everything into context. Unlike a lot of, I mean, you got me in sales mode now, right? Unlike a lot of prior security tools that would just light up everything, Wiz lights it all up and then prioritizes it so you know where to put your efforts. If you can have a VM that is, has 100,000 CVEs on it, but if nobody can reach it, it's not a problem. And so that's, we tie all that information together. We're like, this has the CVEs. They are remotely exploitable, and there's network access to it from, a public endpoint. That's a critical, right? As opposed to, this has 100,000 CVEs, but, there's no network access to it. Nobody can see it, and it doesn't touch any data. Who cares? I mean, you care. Eventually, the custodian's going to get all the dust bunnies, but usually you're like, oh, there's a fire over here. Let me go put that out, as opposed to, let me brighten the corners. So that's kind of our take, is we help prioritize everything. And so by putting, by having a hardened OS at the base of it, you just drop out large swaths of CVEs. Maybe that doesn't, really move the line on your criticals, but sometimes it does. It's just cleaning out that underbrush. So later on, when there is a fire, there's less things to catch on fire.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was kind of reading through some of the kind of the other takes. I was like, well, one, not all CVEs are equal. So that's one of the things. Yeah. It's like, you can have stuff that's like, again, it's not important.
I've got customers who have, hundreds of thousands of CVEs, but they don't have any criticals. They don't have anything on network exposure. So, they're burning those down, but it's not something that keeps you up at night, as long as nobody can get to that stuff.
Right. Well, that's a couple of things. Like, one, I think criticality is important. Number one, it's like, if not critical, maybe that is. And then two, like, there is the like, well, the software still has to do stuff. Like, it's like, if you lock it down to such a point that you've made your software like it can't do what it needs to do, right? It's like, it has like some low vulnerability thing, and someone like takes the package out and now the software breaks. It's like, you've kind of defeated the whole purpose, right? It's like, we have a server, it's in a room, no one can touch it, it does nothing, it's fully secure, right? It's like, yeah, you've won, but you kind of lost. Like, there's nothing there actually happening.
Well, Wiz is happy about it though.
yeah. I mean, it's all green, except it does nothing. It adds no business value. So I think there's that kind of thing. So I don't know. I feel like there's just an evolving conversation here in the industry around like everyone right now is just like 0 CVEs images. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like it needs to evolve a little bit around. And of course, maybe the most important thing is like, CVEs are only known vulnerabilities, right? Like, of course, you're still susceptible to things that you don't know about, to your point about taking proper action on the network. So, just because you have 0 CVEs doesn't mean you're safe. You still have to do things like protect it via the network. So I don't know. Is that all a fair way to say it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll see. I don't know. I would like, again, invite the listeners. If you believe everything should have 0 CVEs, let us know why. I want someone to tell me that. Or if you believe it's more balanced approach. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel like it needs to come up with, like, there needs to be some other, maybe that's the new marketing campaign, the balanced approach to CVEs. I don't know. We should give that idea to the Wiz marketers, and next thing will come out, there'll be a Broadway play. That's all we can hope for.
Well, that's why we have the Zero Criticals Club. We actually have swag for people who have, if you've kept the line at zero criticals for 30 days. It's hard, you know. So we
Okay.
celebrate that because you're not gonna, we don't celebrate, zero highs, zero, mediums and lows because like nobody gets there.
That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes with our friends at Wiz and their friends. I hope. I'm actually what I really want is the Chain Guard to respond in some way. I want them to like respond with like why they're better, or or better yet, with some like if you guys are doing Broadway plays, like what would they do? Like live action, like dramas or something? I don't know.
They're gonna go straight to the superhero flicks.
Yeah, let's see what change. That's really what it comes down to. I just want to evaluate the marketing campaigns, and I was like today's announcement from Wiz. I mean, while interesting and all, it was just a blog post. At this point, I'm kind of used to like some real, exciting, ridiculously complicated or interesting marketing campaigns. So we'll look for that in a few weeks, maybe when it goes out of GA. Hopefully, they're still working on it. All right, Matt. Well, the other thing I wanted to do was just figure out here is like, let's check in on OpenAI. There's been a lot of happenings there, and a couple things I wanted to ask you, get your take on. So one, maybe the major news was that they're quote unquote evolving OpenAI structure. So the net of this was they're doing well. Of course, they wanted to become a for-profit company. They were a nonprofit. They were going to attempt to spin it out. After talking to lots of people, the people said, no, you can't do that. So now they're still, if you will, a for-profit entity managed by a nonprofit, but it seems like they can somehow make money. Do you have any thoughts on this? Like what, just any thoughts at all about the structure? Does this even matter?
I don't think it really matters. I think at the end of the day, like, they'll call themselves a not-for-profit or a non-profit or whatever, and everybody's going to make a boatload of money selling this stuff. And I mean, probably what got caught up is some legal entity about the way the original org was structured, and they'll just file off the sharp edges and act like they made the change.
So it'll basically be for all intents and purposes, it's a for-profit company. It's just stuck in this weird legal structure, I think. But I do think it's almost like if we were making a movie, like a trilogy, we'll be like, oh, you know what? In Act 3, the fact that they're a nonprofit, it's going to come back in some way and have some inadvertent effect that, like, even as we look ahead, we're like, that could be a problem. It's going to like. Somehow it's going to have it could be good, it could be bad. It's just going to come back and be like, oh, turns out we're a nonprofit. I like
that you've placed this in the Act 3 of the OpenAI story.
Well, no, it's more like it's going to reappear. Like, I think we're in maybe Act 1. In Act 3, like when it's being sold or it's like $1 trillion company.
I think this is
it'll come back. It'll people will be like, oh, it turns out your Achilles heel is you are a nonprofit, and like, you have to give all the money up, or I don't know what it means. It just feels like one of these things that like it's because I think the OpenAI messaging is like, don't worry about it. It's no big deal, but clearly it was a big deal. They wanted to get it done. And it sounds like from what I read, Elon Musk in conjunction with, not that they're on the same side, I guess like the Attorney General of California was like, no, we don't think you can do this. So that's kind of like why they waved it off. So clearly there's like more to the story. Now, kind of telegraphing where I think OpenAI is going, which again, everybody is saying the same thing, is they've hired the Instacart CEO. So let's stop there for a second. Does that tell you how incredible a company is doing when they're like an acting CEO of a fairly prominent company, Instacart, actually quits that job to become, if you will, just a quote unquote regular employee? I mean, obviously an executive at OpenAI. Like, have you seen that before, Matt? Is that something like you think people do quite
very
a bit?
often? But didn't AWS pluck the CEO from Tableau? How'd that go?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good. Well, Selevsky, yes, he's out looking for another job. So that's an interesting question. So wait a minute. So if I just asked you right now, which job do you want? Do you want to be in charge of, let's just call it apps at OpenAI, or do you want to be in charge of all of Instacart? Like, which job do you think has?
Oh, I would take the OpenAI one, right? Because it's at this point, I'm gonna assume that Instacart's had a good run. I don't know if they're public or not, but the guy's probably been there. He's vested.
It's a woman. It's her last
She
name is
perfect, even better,
Simeo.
even
Simeo
better.
is, I think.
Yes,
I don't
even
know how to
better,
say her first
right?
name. Go on.
So she's made her money, and or she's she's vested in Instacart, right? She's good to go on that, and now she goes over to OpenAI, and it's like the rich get richer.
Hmm.
Like now she doesn't have to deal with managing everything about Instacart. Now she can only focus on you know more applications, and doesn't have to deal with all the other nonsense of being the CEO. It's probably like kind of refreshing to have focus, and undoubtedly it's a bigger paycheck.
Yeah, well, I think it has more upside. I think that's the bottom line.
Exactly.
It's like, I think Ben Thompson or something, it's like, it's better to be number two at a rocket ship than number one at like maybe like a
Ground
small
control.
company, a relative small company to that. So she's going to oversee sales, marketing, and finance. Now, Matt, do you know where Instacart has made most of its money in recent years? You know what they actually do? And I'll give you a hint. It's not actually delivering groceries. It's selling. Would you like to guess? It's your favorite thing.
Selling ads to
Correct.
grocery
Ads,
stores.
ads inside of Instagram. Gosh, not
Oh,
Instagram.
this
Oh,
bodes well
Instagram
for
makes sense.
OpenAI.
Instacart. So I was gonna
Yes.
say, I think this is like a clear telegraph, right? That like, let's hire someone that's taken, if you will, an app that has like other functions and has found a way to infuse ads into it and is making a ton of money. So my guess is, right, if you were hiring her, that you would want her to come to your company and do something similar. Be like, okay, look at the OpenAI technology and help us figure out where the best contextual ads will go. Do you think that's a fair read on it? You think this is like clearly where they're going?
Yeah. I think we are, to beat up many of our metaphors and most commonly used tropes, we are on day one of shitification.
Probably it is kind of nice. I do, although I was using OpenAI today, or ChatGPT rather, to like help me find out like, some specific things I was looking for. And it did. It recommended some good places to
Oh,
go,
yeah.
looked at it. And I clicked on the
Google used to be
links.
great.
Yeah. So yeah, so maybe it is. Maybe we just maybe it's right. Maybe we're at step one. Maybe we're early days. So it's interesting. So
It's a marathon, but chances are this is going to be a sprint.
well, I think it just has to be, right? You're just like, I mean, there's just no other. I mean, it's obvious, like, and I know Sam Altman is sort of like kind of, if you will, brush it off and said, no, we're looking at other ways to make money. But the pressure to do ads has got to be just enormous, right? It's just got to be like, as soon as you turn that on, you could potentially have, I don't know, millions of dollars or really billions of dollars. Now, unrelated to the ads thing, I guess the other thing is like we talked about this a little bit before, but they've also bought Windsurf. So Windsurf is sort of their, if you will, cursor IDE for $3 billion. Now, I guess the question is like, so like it's just an interesting portfolio that's kind of like constructing here. They've got like this search ad business. I'm gonna say they have this like, let's call it chat business. I think it's gonna have ads. You have to take, just have to assume that for a moment. You've got subscriptions that they're selling, right? They got API access they're selling. Then they got this Windsurf, coding tool that I don't know what it will become. I guess it will become a subscription-based business. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you think of this portfolio? Is this like making sense to us, or is just cash grab? Buy everything. It's like we need everything.
Well, I think they're still figuring out their business model of, I mean, they are making money finally, and it's not keeping up with their burn rate, but they're
They're
grabbing a
making an
foothold.
enormous. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is that they have the users, right? I mean,
Yeah, they
hundreds
have
of
the
millions. I
users,
mean,
and so
that's sort of like the hardest problem. Is like, yeah, I mean, I know people will say like they're burning up money, but it's so hard to get people. Hence to our conversation about Zenoss. It's like, it'd be great if Zenoss had like millions of users, but never got there, right? So it's sort of like, so I do think if you have to pick, right, it's like you want the user. So the demand is the hard part. So I think sometimes people are too critical about that. It's like if you have the demand, you can usually optimize to make money. Is that too naive? Would
no,
business
I mean
people tell me I'm crazy?
that's the VC dream, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you spend a bunch of money, you grab a bunch of users, you monetize them, and will obviously they're trying to figure out what comes next, but you do the you do everything that looks to have potential at this point. So there'll probably be some more things that pop up down the line that like now OpenAI does this. Now they're doing restaurant recommendations, and they're doing reviews of products, and then you know six you know 2 years down the road they'll be like quietly cutting off some of those projects that didn't pan out or didn't get the user base they
Killed by
expect. I mean,
ChatGPT.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this is all coming, right? There's gonna be like a big spread out of focus, which is why you need another CEO just to like keep on top of all the different initiatives, and then there'll be a reaping of like, yeah, turns out 7 out of 10 of these were a waste of time, but it's coming. They've got
Right.
a bank for it, and they obviously need to start making money at some point.
Well, I think ultimately I was kind of like trying to summarize my own thoughts about like what I think OpenAI is doing here. And I think I would characterize it this way. It's just like it's a combination of like no one knows anything but do everything. And I think the reason I kind of say that is like you look at this company and they've kind of done everything wrong. They started as a nonprofit. They fired their CEO one week. They've done a partnership with Microsoft. They've been on the brink of just collapse, right? Almost at one point, everyone was going to go to Microsoft. The company was over. They brought it back, and still they're acquiring hundreds of millions of users. So it's like if you find yourself in the ultimate product market fit, you just ride the rocket ship. And I do think it's a corollary to that. So what you're just saying is like you just do everything because you have no idea what's going to hit. You're like,
Yeah.
fine, buy the coding assistant, bring in the person that does ads. Like they'll probably be announcing something with robots tomorrow or like whatever. It'll just be, it'll just be more and more crazy.
Have
and then
they thought about robo taxis?
Robotech. I mean, it probably is going to be this kind of thing. And so I think, as we kind of live through this, I always think it's willing to be like, it isn't like these people are geniuses, right? No, nobody would do it this way. Like if you were planning it out, you would not plan all of this craziness. It's sort of like it just happens. So like when they write the OpenAI book in maybe, a few years, either because it's massively successful or it's flamed out, I guess the successful part's more interesting. There's going to be this idea to be like, oh, and so saw this was coming and they knew this was the right decision. It's like, no. We're actually watching it play out. And I don't think these guys have any idea what to do, right? I think they're sort of like,
I think they're they're going to tell you they're making calculated bets.
right, which I think is a combination of like just do everything, and they're going to say like, oh well, we just bet everything, and it worked out. So, all right, well, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to continue to watch. I would say this though, I'd love to do a personal check in. Like, I do find myself using ChatGPT more and more. I do. I have to admit, it's like everyone can say what they will, but I'm like, I'm in this thing all the time doing stuff. I don't know. I wish I could put something on my computer. I'm sure there is that could actually count it up, like how much time I'm on that versus Google. It feels like it's significant that I'm in, and I guess it's not just ChatGPT; it's other of these AI chatbots. What about you? Are you in the chatbots much? Or are you living in the world of Google search still?
Well, we recently switched over to Google Workspaces, and so they've unleashed Gemini on us.
Okay.
So I'm starting to get into that more.
What do you think? How do you think Gemini is doing? Are you happy with it?
So far, I'm not super impressed. It's fine. It's still you ask it to do something and then you review its work, which is how I've kind of been with AI from the get go. It seems like it should be getting better. Seems like it.
All right, well, yeah. In the spirit of Google, two things that I think jumped out that I thought were interesting about Google this week. First is that it sounds like everybody admits that Google search is actually declining for the first time. The search traffic, at least in the case of Apple. So, and that sort of jives with my own personal experience.
It's because I switched to DuckDuckGo.
That was you. You were the one that was doing it. And in a sign that, some things are actually going to happen at Google that actually are real change is that it looks like they're actually testing the, if you will, replacing the "I'm feeling lucky" button on the homepage with, I guess something like AI mode. So when I wanted a couple questions here.
Wasn't there a Firefox? What's the thing that rewrites HTML? Like, I think I'm feeling lucky was replaced with "I don't care about the results." It wasn't.
When's the last time you clicked "I'm feeling lucky" in a non-ironic way?
Never, right? Never. I mean, I feel like I had it blocked or something. I don't even remember seeing it anymore. Or they don't have it on DuckDuckGo.
Well, I think what's funny about the whole thing is I've read somewhere that they, of course, like everything about the Google homepage, this is all the way back to Melissa Mayer's day, right? Everything about the Google homepage has been like A/B tested to like, the infinite degree, right? So that evidently that the study showed that people, for some reason, like that button, like somehow slightly improved like searching, then even though people didn't use it, which is like, I don't know, it's never made any sense to me. It's always just been like you've just conditioned people to see something for so long that they've just gotten used to it, like they tune it out.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of interesting just the fact that like, okay, well, here we have Google, famously strong hiring process. They've had, I don't know, about 20 years of total dominance, right? They've had infinite money. And for the first time, they're actually feeling like a real threat, which I think is kind of interesting. And the fact, and only then are they willing to look at like, hey, we have this button on the homepage that is completely useless, right? So I don't know, like it's just weird though, because it's like obviously the people at Google are very smart, right? It's hard to get a job there. Millions of people apply. It's hard to work there. But like if we go back in time, it's like they've had a few great acquisitions. But I think this is sort of like, I guess almost like the ultimate question is like, I think Google tried to do everything to not be disrupted, right? They started all this crazy stuff. They renamed themselves Alphabet. And to a large extent, they are the ones that, if you will, maybe didn't create, but sort of like funded a lot of the research
Right.
around the LLMs. But even them thinking about it for all of this time, right? They look like they're the ones that are going to be, I don't know, at least
Well,
disrupted in some way in the next few
yeah.
years. So all of this leads me to like, I don't know, like there's all these conversations about how to prevent all this and things like this, but I'm sort of like, it's like old age. It's like, it's just coming for you.
You can't
Like,
fight it.
I
I
mean,
mean,
something's going to happen. Go ahead.
there's no such thing as infinite growth, and that's the problem. Is like they have such a huge chunk of the advertising dollar is like, and such you know dominance in search. You can't you can't get to 90. You can't get to 100% ever, and I guess they've plateaued, and you know, but I think that's just kind of natural. Is like, and they've fought to stay at the top for a long time. Who knows? And maybe in a year or two, we might be like, you remember that blip that Google had, and then they fixed the blip, and they're back at the plateau. I I I'm not. It's probably good that they're feeling some stress. It's probably good to have a little bit of fire under them because hopefully we see better stuff out of it.
Yeah, I think that's all true, and I think competition generally is kind of what we're in favor of. But I guess the ultimate question though is it does kind of feel like this does have a little bit of like the Yahoo Google in reverse kind of feel. It's like it's kind of gotten away from them a little bit. It's like okay, yeah, they're like it's like for a long time like yeah, Yahoo's well positioned. Yeah, Yahoo's like gonna use Google search, but like there's just this moment where it sort of just gets overtaken, and I don't know. It does kind of feel like that's happening, at least in the LLM space with ChatGPT. It's like even what you said before. It's like, yeah, Gemini, like we'll go use it. It's fine. It just doesn't quite feel the same. You know what I mean? It's like it's not the new thing. So I don't know. It's just interesting. I'm sure obviously they're going to do everything they can do to prevent it. But as someone else said, it's like all these companies sort of like AI washing. Someone else kind of said this. I thought was true. It's like all these like LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn, it's like rewrite with AI. And then I know Matt, you haven't been there for years, but if you logged into Facebook, there's all these like little AI widgets everywhere, and it's sort of like, I always think like enterprise companies like to do this, where it's sort of like, oh, this big new thing is there, so let's kind of like take all of our existing revenue and like mix it with the new AI thing and say we have AI everywhere. And it's like, not really. You just kind of put these little buttons all over your sites, and it's like people are clicking on them accidentally. Amazon's another one, like what's it called, Rupert or something, and it's like Rufus. It's not Rupert, it's Rufus, and it's like this isn't really, it's like yeah, I guess you could say it's AI, but it's not really AI. It's not. It's just kind of like something I don't want in my system. So. Whereas ChatGPT seems like legit, like people are going there like on their
Well,
own for
they
something.
started there. They're not bolting it onto something. They started there, but like, I mean, I think it's a little early for us to get to our predictions for the year. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling my shot now. They need to buy themselves Dropbox so they can get into the desktop. They can get into the workspace and get into fight with Google and Office. for documents and storage. Like that you're flush with cash. You got some folks around you who they're like, we can make that work. We'll slap some AI on that.
It never stops anyone. It's like, I guess the stuff that everyone just tries to build no matter what, if we want it, I guess it would be some type of web conferencing, some type of email platform, followed by like.
Doesn't Slack have documents now?
And like a chat. Yeah, exactly. And like some type of like chat function, like actual, so it'd be like a WhatsApp kind of chat GPT. Slack. I mean, it was so GPT. Yeah. So that would fall under the do everything category, right? So maybe they just have that on there, like, well, we should just do everything. Let's just do all the same stuff everyone else is doing. So
there you go.
That's interesting. Now, the other one I thought we should check and kind of related here was Apple. Apple sort of having, quite a moment here in the past 2 weeks. Not been good. So a couple things here. One, I think let's tie it directly to the Google thing. It's like, it looks like they're on the potential to lose the $20 billion paycheck from Google, which is incredible when you think about it for a second. They get a check in theory, every year for $20 billion, which I think we can all agree is basically 100%.
Do you think it's one check or a series of payments?
I don't know. Maybe the question is, do they use Apple Pay or Google Pay? And that comes over. That's an interesting question. But it's one of these things that's like, as successful as Apple is, I guess this represents something like 20% of their profit, because obviously this is not,
it's nice.
So I don't know. It's one of these things like, even though it's billions of dollars and you make billions of dollars, it's going to be hard to make up. Like on the earnings call, like, what do you say? It's like, well, we lost the $20 billion payment. Like what excuse are you going to make for your year-over-year earnings after giving that up?
You blame regulatory headwinds and,
legal fees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody knows this golden goose has to, stop laying eggs at some point. It can't go on forever. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. But the other thing I was going to ask you is like, it's kind of related to like something we talked a lot about before. It's like, open source in general. But, Apple has famously basically made, I don't know, tens of billions of dollars by running this closed ecosystem, right? But it seems like it's all kind of coming to an end simultaneously. Like one, the developers have revolted, right? They don't want to pay this 30% tax anymore. The Epic Games person, whether you like him or not, I guess Tim Sweeney, right? He's sort of taken it to him. It's like, no, we're not paying for that. So they had to give up on that. They're not allowed to, if you will, do all this craziness where it's like, you can't even tell people about a website. Now you're allowed to like build people outside the website. And then also things in Europe, right? You can now use your iPhone to do, I guess, contactless payments with PayPal, right? So I guess the question to me is just sort of like, is this, I don't know who said this, but like, is there sort of like, software just wants to be free or standards just want to be open, right? It's like, it feels like this is just the world of software development. It's like, we don't just want one way to do it. Like, yes, we want a default and we may never change the default, but we want more options. Is Apple ultimately, like, they've taken the defaults lifestyle too much. They've made it like the closed lifestyle. And it's like, no, just give us our defaults. We probably won't change them, but we like to have the option. Is that ultimately what we're seeing here?
Well, I think the more you try to tighten things down, the more things are going to slip through your fingers. And so, I mean, the defaults lifestyle is nice and all, but maybe there's just too many defaults. I think you can't please everyone, and eventually you're gonna get enough people who are like, I need something else. I need something else, and when they're ready, I guess Ubuntu will be ready for them, and then they'll probably go back.
Well, I do think there's just this point though where it's like, I mean, I guess I would say it this way, like you can just go too far. It's almost like not a legal argument. It's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but it's sort of like when I'm in Audible and I just want to buy, or when I'm Amazon and I'm in the Kindle and I just want to buy a book, like let's not pretend that like you have that in the app, it can say nothing about where to buy the book. Right. And like how to buy the book. I just have to like know to go to the web browser and do it. And it's just like, let me just buy the book in there. Just like I can order on Amazon. I can order an infinite amount of physical goods and like Apple doesn't care. Right. I can order. So there's just this moment of where it's like, I think they ultimately just like, it's almost like with great power comes great responsibility, or it's just like, yeah, you can take all the money, but there's going to be a point where people just get tired of it. And like, maybe it's even your legal right to do it, but like people are just very mad at you. So I don't know. It's one of those things ultimately going forward. it's not like I think we have to worry about Apple. That would be funny to say like we're worried about them, but they definitely. I don't know. I think that I was gonna say, what's their developer conference? Was it WWDC coming up? It'll be very interesting to see what they say about developers, if anything. If they make some amends, if they sort of come out, like I think, do they just come out and like embrace the change? If you were Tim Cook, would you just be like, all right, game's over. We're gonna just, you know what? Everybody, we're gonna embrace this. You can sell your own stuff. You don't have to use our stuff all the time. We want you to do it, but let's all hug it out here.
No, I think he positions it as Apple is offering you great new ways to to increase your own monetization. They spin it to be a positive for for everybody else, which it is, but they don't talk. There's no downside here. It's all upside. You have even more choice. You're gonna make even more money. But
that's right. Well, there's no mistakes. I think that's the whole thing. It's like you never admit mistakes. Maybe that's the one thing we've learned about in recent time is never admit any mistakes, never give them anything going on. So, all right, well, Matt, let's just end on a really positive note. There's really nothing to say other than about this article about Emacs from, I don't know, is it Matt? He wrote it. It's Matt Jamel. I don't know how to say his name there, but ultimately, all it is about somebody who has just discovered Emacs in the last year and loves it. And I think we should just always acknowledge, we think of these things as second nature. And here it is, somebody out here for the first time, they were using some other, fancy editor and they thought it was good. And they learned about all the crazy customization you can do with Emacs. So it's like, hey, every generation, you know what? They're going to have their own movies. They're going to have their own music. But they're going to find these editors for you, Matt. It's not visual. It's not going to be all Visual Studio going forward. There's some people still finding Emacs for the first time. You got to be happy about that.
They're going to be those people who, discover what is it, Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance, right? They're going to find the classics and it's going to change their lives.
Oh, it's good. Well, it's good to see. It's always fun to see someone encounter it for the first time and be excited by it, right? Because when you encounter VI for the first time, people are usually not happy. They're usually very when they're on the Unix command line,
just confused. Yeah,
they're just
Emacs is just confusing, right?
That's right. And then it's like, how do I exit it? Well, there's a lot of options, but
why would you?
It's not obvious. So okay, well, good to see. Good to see a new Emacs enthusiast out there. All right. Well, we had several people wrote in this week. So let me give some quick shout outs here. So one, I sent some stickers to Victor in Japan. I don't know if we sent someone stickers to Japan. I think so, but he may be the first. Also, I think it's Dusan in Serbia, and then Bart in the Netherlands. And also, Chris wrote in to say that he believes XML is the rice cake of data exchange formats. He thinks the analogy especially holds up when you consider the amount of, quote, fluff, end quote, the extraneous tags add, just like the empty air in all the puffed up rice cakes. So I like that. I think that's very good. I think it's a very good analogy. And I think Cote does too. So there you have it. If you would like a sticker, all you have to do is send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. Happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. Conferences. Okay, we've got some exciting things happening for conferences. So first, Cote is going to be at NDC Oslo, May 21st to the 23rd. And then, Matt, I'm going to be at PostCon 25. That's June 3rd through the 4th in Los Angeles. I'll be out there. I'll have stickers, so you guys should come find me. Now, a couple things here. One, if you would like a free pass, we have 20 free passes to give away. Free, as in 20. No money. So this is what you got to do. Got to go into the show notes here, click on the register for the free pass link, and you use the code Brandon. Incredible. I got my own code. Can you believe it? I actually got my own code. So that's BRANDON. So Brandon. So and hopefully 20 people will be out there. Now I'm going to be there. And I mentioned Ryan Reynolds is going to be there. Yeah. Now also that's going to be there is
Matthew McConaughey,
listener
George Clooney,
Chris Chandler. And he's going to be giving a talk. Contract-driven development, unite your teams and accelerate delivery. So there's a link in there. I plan to be at that session as well, unless something comes up or goes wrong. So you have a chance, Matt, to meet 3 of the following people: Ryan Reynolds, Chris Chandler, and Brandon Whitchard. Those are the 3 people you could potentially meet at the show.
They should put you guys on a panel.
Probably, I don't know. equal billing, one of us not like the others, but those are 3 potential people that you can meet. I'm sure there'll be others. I'm not saying there won't be other people there as well, but those 3 people you can meet. So, and you could probably get a picture
for your free pass, and you can
get a free pass. You can probably get a picture with 2 of them pretty easily. I don't know. You decide which one may be the hardest one to get there. So
you might have to sneak a selfie with Brandon.
That's right. You can come out there, see myself, see Chris, and maybe we'll get some time with Ryan Reynolds. And maybe we'll have to figure out like what to ask him. Do we ask him about like APIs? Do you think he's on top of that?
You definitely want to know how he feels about rice cakes.
Rice cakes? That's exactly what he wants to know. Well, maybe no one else will ask him about rice cakes. So it'll be something new. And then finally, there's an SRE day. It's on June 12th, so you can check that out. And Cote's got a speaking discount. It's CLG 10 for 10% off. That's, you know what, 10% off is not as good as 100% off. So there you go. And Cote doesn't have his own cool code. So there you go. So one up on that this week. Now, having said all of that, Matt, what is your recommendation this week?
So my recommendation this week is the TV series Devs, which previously was recommended by Brandon in episode 223, a scant 400 or 297
It's gotta be like
episodes.
Years. I don't know, like how many years ago was that? What year was
it? It came out in 2020.
Oh, 2020. Okay, all right. So
I finally got around to watching it. I watched the season finale, or the series finale last night. I don't think there's going to be a season 2. So
yeah, I think that ended. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So if you're an Alex Garland fan, Ex Machina, Civil War, Annihilation, go for it.
Yeah, what was that? Was that one on Hulu? I can't remember. Was it which?
It was at FX, so I guess that's Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. No, it's good. I thought it was like I said, I recommended in 223, so it was definitely a good one. So check it out. And now I don't want to give away next week's recommendation, but there's something coming up on Apple TV. I wonder if everyone. I think it's going to be recommended next week.
Apple TV.
So I think it is a very popular book, at least on Software Defined Talk, that's been recommended. So I think the series is coming out next a few weeks. So maybe we'll recommend that after we watch one episode to at least make sure it's pretty good. But until then, I do have a recommendation myself this week. I went out and saw the movie Sinners. Have you seen this one, Matt? Have you been checking it out?
I'm meaning to.
Okay,
maybe at 297 episodes.
Yes. All right. So we'll clock in here. Matt will be in episode 725. Matt will be recommending Sinners, but I thought it was really good. I mean, it's different. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like kind of a horror movie, but kind of a drama, but it's got a lot of interesting social overtones. So it's maybe something better to just go see than to read a lot about. And I will say, like, I think a sign of a good movie is it sort of sticks with you. And that's what I saw like a week or two ago. And I sort of like, oh, it's sort of still, if you will, percolating in my mind. I've been thinking about it at all. So check it out if you want something unusual to watch. Check out Sinners. Now, speaking of unusual, well, hopefully it's not unusual that you made it to the end of this episode. This is Software Defined Talk, episode 519. If you would like to see all the topics that we discussed, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/519. Of course, there you'll see the links to all the conferences, and you can get the free pass to PostCon, and you can see myself, Chris Chandler, and Ryan Reynolds. All 3 of us will be there. So again, incredible celebrity lineup. I hope to see many people there. And with that, we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right. Did anything exciting happen in the chat? I wasn't watching.
I was just thinking. I bet Ryan Reynolds likes Marmite, seeing how he's got the soccer team and all that.
Oh, you think like Wrexham? Wrexham was it like?
Yeah. Well, and he's Canadian. They probably like Marmite.
Okay. I don't. It's all right.
I'm just saying, it's something for you to bring up with him.
So if we crowdsource a question, we'd be like, thoughts on Marmite?
No, thoughts on Ryan Reynolds and Marmite.
That's what I'm saying. That's okay. Maybe we should be like, does your wife Blake Lively like Marmite? Maybe it needs to be something more even ridiculous. So that's good. All right, Matt. Well, I feel like I want to get a Zero Criticals Club T-shirt. I don't know. I don't know if I've run enough production software. Like, does it count if my Mac is up to date? If I installed the latest updates? How do I have to get one? It sounds like actually you have to do work.
Yeah, we don't have a consumer tier.
No, God damn it.
So maybe we can have a little conversation with your employer, get you guys on there, get some MSP action going.
All right. Well, I like that. All right, good. Well, you're not in the Zero Criticals Club, but you're in the highly select, maybe even more select, the Software Defined Talk streaming crew. So I appreciate everyone that's in here this week. Was it Chairrot Destroyer? God, some interesting names. Darth Vikes, Matt, you're in there. Graham, there's a name there's one I recognize for sure. Steve. So it's good to see everyone in here as well. Probably for those of you, some of us here in Austin will be at the I think the Kubernetes Community Day maybe this week. I may or may not be down there. We'll see. But I know a bunch of other people in the community will be there. So hopefully everyone will have fun on that. And with that, we'll talk to you all next time.
Bye.